Hello, everybody. My name is Coach Lindsay. For some of you that don't know me already, I'm one of the health coaches here at Mighty Health. And today we're going to be doing a body positivity seminar. This is not something that we have talked about yet, and it is a very, very important part of our wellness journey. So I'm excited to talk a little bit about some different aspects of body positivity and how you can kind of start to practice that and implement that in your life. So I'm going to go through a slideshow today. So go ahead and just listen, and hopefully this is valuable to you. So some of the things that we're going to talk about. So I have kind of a laundry list of things that we're going to cover. So we're first going to talk about what body positivity is. We're also going to talk about the importance that it has in our wellness or weight loss journey, and then how having that body positivity can have an impact on our food and our movement, and then vice versa, how food and movement can have that impact on our self-compassion. And then we're going to talk about how we can practice that body positivity and self-compassion, and then setting up your environment for success. And then finally, we'll kind of summarize it all in a nice little take-home message. We're going to first talk a little bit about what body positivity is. I'm going to struggle with that, you guys, this entire session, so bear with me. But I think it's very self-explanatory, but really to kind of dive into the deeper definition is it's actually a movement that started back in the 60s that aims to combat harmful practices like body shaming and unrealistic expectations, especially this day and age, right? Like in the 60s, we didn't have social media, but we have it now and it makes it 10 times worse. So really kind of focusing on a little bit more of an inclusive and diverse environment in society. It also, more importantly, highlights the importance of understanding that health is not solely determined by our physical appearance. And there's a lot of different definitions of health, and that everybody at any size can be healthy, strong, and most importantly, capable. So let that sink in a little bit as we dive into why it is important to focus on that body positivity in our wellness journey. The first thing, it has a major impact on our mental health. I think a lot of this goes without saying. If we are nicer to ourselves, if we give ourselves that self-compassion, we are going to be a little bit more uplifting and just our general sense of being. So having that self-compassion is really essential for our mental health, especially when it comes to our weight loss goals or our wellness goals. If you approach your journey with kindness and grace towards yourself rather than self-criticism, you're less likely to become discouraged or have that negative self-talk towards yourself. So being kind to your body, regardless of its current weight, allows you to feel a little bit more empowered to tackle a lot of the health goals that we're wanting to focus on. So it's a really kind of cliche saying, but your body reacts to what your mind tells it, right? So if you're telling yourself, I can't do this, I'm never going to lose this weight, I can't walk 2 miles, you're not going to. This is point blank, you're not going to do it if you tell yourself that you can't do it. But if you say, I can do this, I will walk those 2 miles eventually, I can lose this weight. It might not be in the time frame that we want, it might not be in the fashion that we want, but if we tell ourselves that we can do it, our body is going to have a positive reaction to that, and it's going to get it done one way or another. So mental health, everything starts in the brain, everything starts with how we talk to ourselves here. Moving on to motivation. This is another major part of the journey, right? I have heard and even myself struggle with motivation. That is the biggest thing that allows us to kind of fall off the bandwagon, if you will, and kind of derails us from our wellness journey. So if we kind of can foster in that body positivity, we're more likely to actually pursue our goals in a balanced and sustainable way. So a lot of times if we have that negative self-image or that negative self-talk towards ourselves, we're going to look at the fastest way to achieve what we want to achieve, which then leads into unrealistic practices, right? Extreme dieting, restriction, this really unrealistic expectation of what we can achieve. And so if we're able to kind of change that mindset to the more gentle version, right? Long-term change takes time, but we're going to get there eventually. You're a little bit more motivated to stick with it because you know the end result is going to be 100 times more worth it than if you were to just rush through it and approach it in a negative way. So rather than those quick fixes to get our work done, we really need to focus on how we can positively increase that motivation by the way that we talk to ourselves to achieve what we want to achieve. And then next, body positivity allows us to have a broader definition of health. So, kind of related to what I just talked about, whenever we think of health, if we have that negative self talk or that negative self compassion, we think that I'm not healthy or I'm not worthy unless I look this way or unless I see this number on the scale. But if we can change that mindset to say health isn't just that, right? Health can mean our physical fitness, our function, our mental clarity, our emotional balance, right? Then we become a little bit more excited about the health because we're not just focused on that appearance or that one number on the scale. It really opens up overall our definition of health. And everybody has a different definition of health. It's going to be kind of on a spectrum, but ultimately, if we can approach it in a gentle way, then we can really recognize some of the things that are happening off of the scale or the things that are happening more internally versus externally and be really appreciative of those things that we're working so hard on. Okay, last but not least, empowerment. So, again, related to a lot of the things that we've already talked about, is the more self compassion you have, the more body positivity you have towards yourself, you have a more positive approach and it empowers you to really achieve the things that you want to achieve. So, you tend to be a lot more in tune with your body, being able to recognize its signals, when it needs rest, when you need to fuel your body with something that is bad or not a good food. If you are in tune with your body and you're appreciating what it's trying to tell you, you're less likely to have that negative self talk around those choices that we're making. So, giving yourself that mutual respect that it deserves, losing weight isn't just the validation, right? We have validation from other measures of progress. And talk to yourself how you would talk to your daughter, right? My daughter came up and said, I'm not losing weight. I'm not worthy. I can't do this. I would be like, babe, like you are rocking it. You're doing everything that you need to do. Do not talk to yourself that way. So treat yourself the same. Okay. And everything will be okay. But we'll go ahead and move into the next component of how body positivity creates a healthy relationship with food. And it's not something that we think corresponds together, but I promise you it does. A couple things to kind of keep in mind in terms of body positivity and food and how they correlate. The first thing is mindful eating. And this is something that we talk a lot about here at Mighty Health. Practice introducing the concept of mindful eating. So this essentially means just paying attention to your hunger cues. Again, trusting your body and what it's telling you and being able to kind of slow down, savor the food, and really eat with that intention. So when you do that, you reduce the feeling of guilt and the emotion around that food. And then that in turn will have a better result in your self-compassion and your body positivity. So I think there's a lot of us on this call that, especially during the holidays, had a slice of pie, one too many, or had a brownie. And then a few seconds later, you're like, that was terrible. Why did I do that? And you talk yourself down, you beat yourself up for it. But if you allow yourself to sit down with that piece of pie and savor it and really make it worth it to you, then you have that positive mindset of, okay, I had that pie. It was great. I loved it. My grandma made it for me. So I'm glad that I was able to enjoy the fruits of her labor. And now I can move on with my wellness journey. The second thing is breaking free from diet culture. So this has become a big thing, especially as we're into 2025 now. Lots of different eating patterns out there, lots of different diets, lots of different social media influencers that are telling you to do one thing or another. But ultimately, that just promotes restriction, guilt, unhealthy relationships with food. So the goal here is we want to create a really positive relationship with our food. So shifting towards more of that intuitive eating approach can again build that trust with your body, right? Being able to allow your body to guide you in what it's asking for and the nutrients that it's asking for. So we need to get away from all these restrictive diets and really focus on the balance and being focused on what makes our bodies feel good. Last but not least, but also my favorite, is nourishment over punishment. So this goes back to the food guilt thing where we need to look at food as fuel, even if it is sugar or even if it is a brownie or that occasional, indulgence that we have. It's fueling our body in some way or another. And we need to get rid of that shame and that guilt that is tied with certain food choices because ultimately it forces us to want to eat that food or indulge in that food a little bit more than if we were to just say, it happened, we're going to let it go, we're going to move on. We don't need to work that food off, right? We enjoyed it. It was good for our body and our soul at that moment. And now we can move forward. So creating that healthy relationship with food is going to then have a really positive impact on your body positivity. Okay, moving into the second thing, which is movement. Again, creating a healthy relationship with movement ties a lot into body positivity. So, as we're transitioning into new movement, maybe we've always hated movement as a kid, or it's just not something that we've been inclined to do religiously, finding activities that you enjoy is a great first step to allowing your body and your mind to connect in that joyful area of movement. So, dancing, hiking, yoga, being outside, walking, whatever it may be, start by cultivating that positive relationship with movement. I think a lot of times we go into a journey and we think, I have to go lift weights. I have to do an hour of cardio or walk on the treadmill for an hour to achieve something. And that's not true. Think of movement as a celebration of what your body can do and make it an enjoyable thing for you to start. And then once you are in that, then you have more confidence, right? Your body positivity is higher, your self-compassion is higher. So then maybe kind of dive into some different things that you haven't thought about trying in the past. So going to the second part of fitness is not punishment. If we have a piece of food or an indulgence, often we have that mindset of, I have to go work that off. Like, I can have this brownie because I'm going to go work it off and do 2 miles on the treadmill tomorrow. Get away from that thinking. Movement is not punishment and it shouldn't be punishment for us. So we need to think of exercise as something that we get to do. Our body is able to do this still, not something that we have to do. And then focus on strength and function. So similar to shifting our focus on, the number on the scale, we can focus on things like, am I able to reach the top shelf of my pantry a little easier? Can I bend down and pick my groceries up? Can I play with my grandkids on the ground, right? These are all things that we should be focusing on and celebrating that our bodies are either able to do or working on able to do. And when it comes to movement, so that we are a little bit more excited to do it and also have that positive impact on our mindset. All right, so we've talked a lot about body positivity. We know the benefits, we know how it impacts our wellness journey, but how do we practice it? I think that's probably what everybody's on this call is wondering. Yeah, Lindsay, you're talking a lot about body positivity, but how can I do it in my day-to-day? And we're going to talk about that. So this might look familiar to some of you who have came to some of our self-compassion events in the past, but the first thing is just shifting that negative self-talk to positive self-talk. So using affirmations and really readjusting statements that we tell ourselves. So this is kind of an example of just some common things that us as coaches hear all the time is, I'm a failure. This is too hard. I can't do this. I'll never reach my goal. I've ruined my progress already because I had a brownie this morning and to heck with the day. So what we need to do is take those statements and adjust them into a positive self-statement. This is going to look different for everybody, but this is something that I would really encourage everybody to practice. So whether you are going throughout your day-to-day and you find a self-statement that you're saying to yourself and you just take a moment to switch it in your head, or you physically write down what you're saying to yourself on a daily basis and reword that. Some examples here: I'm a failure at this. You can shift that to say, I'm doing my best under my unique circumstances. Nobody else's journey looks like yours. So if somebody else is able to do something, but you're not, that's okay, because your life looks a lot different than theirs. It's too hard. This may be a challenge. It's going to take effort, but I can do it, right? That is going to allow your mindset to kind of push forward and get you to a state of positivity. So just a couple of those. I don't really have to read the rest of them. You can see them, but keep in mind how we talk to ourselves. Going back to the scenario of, if my daughter came up and told me these things, how would I respond to her? And that's exactly what we should be doing to ourselves. Next is self-care practices. So I know we have a lot of parents, grandparents, caregivers, more importantly, on this call that look at self-care as selfish, or they look at self-care as, I don't have time for that because I'm pouring myself into everybody else. But ultimately, this is going to be something that has to be put into your day. You don't have time for it, but you have to make time for it, because this is going to be something that uplifts your self-efficacy and kind of gets you to a point where you are excited to take care of yourself in other areas, right? So just some ideas. This is not something that has to take a lot of time or be even monetary, right? So taking a hot bath at the end of the day, stretching, find a stretching video on the app or on YouTube, some meditation. We have a whole meditation program, and then treating yourself to some healthy food, right? A lot of times we think of self-care and rewards as like, I'm going to sit down in front of the TV and have a bowl of ice cream tonight. And sometimes that's okay. Sometimes that's what our body and our soul needs, but ultimately you need to figure out how you're going to feel after that. Sometimes it's that healthy food. It's that plate of fruit, or maybe some fruit dipped in chocolate. That's really going to make you feel nice and good, and like you're really putting some time and effort into yourself. So please, please, please don't be afraid to practice self-care, especially to all my caregivers out there, because I know it's very tough. Last but not least, visualizing and goal setting. So, this is a really great way to practice self care. We aren't going to get anywhere if we just say, I'll probably work out this week, right? That's not taking care of yourself. So, we need to set very meaningful and intentional goals that are realistic. And these have to be goals that are not scale focused or appearance focused, right? I think it's very tough when we have this goal of, I want a six pack. Okay, well, if you're doing all these things that are incredible for your health, but you don't have a six pack, that's when the negative self talk comes in. We talk down all the beautiful things that we've done for ourselves because of one result. So if we can get away from that and set goals like, I want to feel more energized in the morning, or I want to be able to reach the top shelf of my pantry, that is going to be a much more progressive way of tracking our progress, not only, but also being able to appreciate the things that we're doing as a measure of progress. I would encourage everybody to kind of shift your perspective on your goals, especially as we head into the new year. I think a lot of us have weight focused goals, which is fine. We can have those weight focused goals, but we need to have some different goals that are a little bit more meaningful to achieve that weight focused goal. So it kind of needs to be put on the back burner in the passenger seat, if you will, and you need to let your more intentional goals drive the car. Okay. Example, I want to lose 30 pounds. That's great. We can have that goal, but how about I want to be able to walk 2 miles without stopping? I want to be able to bend over without falling over. All these things are going to be very important in realigning on those goals. If you are in need of a goal refresh, we have some goal setting recordings similar to this in the app. I would definitely take a peek at those because we have some more intentional kind of SMART goal things. And that's really going to help you and be more excited about your goals in the future. So definitely a big part of that. Okay, next we're going to talk a little bit about setting up your environment. So this is another part of body positivity and self-compassion. We have talked about internal things that we can do for ourselves, but there's a lot of outside factors that impact how we talk to ourselves and how we feel about ourselves. So one thing is creating a positive surrounding. So the best thing you can do for yourself is surround yourself with positive, like-minded people that are going to support you in the things that you're doing and not talk down to you. Toxic relationships don't serve us any good. This can be tough, right? Because oftentimes a lot of our toxic relationships are family and friends. It's hard to set that boundary and it's hard to sever that relationship if they are family. And that's not necessarily something that we have to do or go that far in, but we need to have the difficult conversations. And if somebody is really impacting you in your life in a non-positive way and they're causing that self-destruction within you, then those conversations need to be had, or we need to just sever ties until we can figure something out in the meantime. So surround yourself with positive people and you're going to be a positive person. Social media detox. Okay. Social media is huge these days. It's everywhere. That's all I'm going to say about it. But oftentimes, this is the biggest contributor to our body positivity demise. So we scroll through Facebook, we scroll through Instagram, we see fitness models and we see people who look a certain way. And we don't realize that a lot of that stuff is photoshopped and fake, right? But it still tears ourselves down. I don't look like her, so therefore I'm not worthy. I don't look like her and I never will. So what's the point of this weight loss journey, right? So a couple things we can do with that. I know a lot of people connect and stay connected with friends and family on Facebook. So we don't have to get rid of it completely, but reevaluate your feed or reevaluate some of the groups that you're in or the pages that you follow and make sure that these things are all positive accounts that have diverse role models and content that really kind of cultivates that self-love. And then ultimately take a break from it. A lot of people do social media detoxes even for like a week or a month. In that week or month, if you do that, kind of get a feel for how you feel, journal it, track it in that month. Are you feeling a lot better about yourself? That might kind of give you some signals on how to approach social media differently in the future. But like I said, I think this is a big part of why a lot of people have that negative self-talk and self-image. So take a break, change up your feed a little bit, set some boundaries with social media, and I think we'll see a big difference in that as well. And then moving on to our community and support system. So this is very similar to my first talking point, but getting some kind of non-biased people within your support group, right? So not friends, not family, joining a body positive health focused community. Gyms are great, right? If you take fitness classes, water aerobics, kind of surround yourself with those kinds of people. Mighty Health is a great resource. We have our communities tab there where you can kind of interact with other members that are doing Mighty Health and kind of have a lot of the same focuses. Celebrate your wins as a community and just have that mutual encouragement. Us as coaches are great as well because again, we're very non-biased, right? We're in your corner. We're here to support you, but we know nothing else about your day to day, right? And so having just that supportive community and support system is a very crucial part as well. Okay, we are finally at the end. I just want to pinpoint a couple things. So, acknowledge that setbacks are going to happen, not only just in our wellness journey, but in our body positivity journey, right? Like, we're going to have bad days. We all have terrible days where we're just really feeling down. So, recognize that and find some ways that you can reduce the frustration, but also overcome that frustration. Develop strategies for dealing with external pressure. So, like we said, your support group, your social media, figure out what role they're playing in your body positivity, and then set those boundaries. Have those hard conversations. Chances are, if they really value you as a person, they're going to change the way that they talk to you. They're going to change their behaviors and really support you and uplift you. And then progress is never linear. Okay. So, true growth happens with the ups and downs. True growth doesn't happen with a steady state of perfection. It happens when we kind of experience the hard and we find ways to overcome it. So again, be very gentle with yourself as you continue into your goals. Change the way you talk to yourself, recognize that that progress is going to go up and down, and stick with it because you are 100% worth it. Last, take the action. Okay. Nothing's going to change if nothing changes. So change the way that you talk to yourself, change the way that you view yourself, surround yourself with those accepting, body positive people, and change the way that you goal set. Take these actions, these little things that we talked about today, and really start to implement them. That's my homework for you all. The final take home is this is a lifelong journey. Okay. So it results in empowerment, but sometimes we have to go through some really tough things in order to get where we want to be. So stick with it. You always have people in your corner here to support you at Mighty Health. I really hope that this was impactful so that you can kind of start to change the way that you talk to yourself and view yourself. I really appreciate you all joining me today, and I hope you all have a great rest of your week.